evening. We're here, we're live, all that good stuff. Yeah, we've got, kind of getting everything set up here, because that way I can see what's going on, if anything. And yeah, we've got we've got 10 albums this evening. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time yipping and yapping about it. It ended up kind of skewing a little bit short this week in terms of length. I mean, in terms of the album lengths, we have, just so everyone's clear, we have 5 EPs, 3 minis, and then 2 full lengths. So a little imbalanced in favor of EPs, but then again, there are 10 releases, which, you know, I've been aiming for 8 recently. As it is, there was an album or two which I was considering adding in there, but I needed a little bit more time to cook. One of them is kind of a big name artist that I really want to spend a little bit more time with the album because I think it's a really good one. Anyway, that's all aside, not important. We've got electronic music, Indian pop, and a little bit of like rock/metal. No rap. I don't know. It's maybe not like a huge thing. There hasn't been a lot of rap this year. I don't remember if there was last year. It's kind of a mixed bag, I think. But anyway, I don't know. I opened all of the album artwork with the with the VPN on, but I turned the VPN off to avoid Spotify ads. So I'm going to try and get everything open here, kind of in the meantime. But we'll start out with some music. We're gonna start with. Let me go ahead and actually, how do I want to do this? I know, actually, I do have most of the album artwork already saved on my computer. I've got 8 of the 10, so let me just quick slap those in, and then for the 2 that I don't have saved, I'll just be able to put them up. All right, anyway, we are starting off with a very short EP, 4 tracks, 8 minutes long. This is Заломы, I think is how, yeah. The name of the artist is, in English it's dailylair, but I saw people in Russian, like using Cyrillic letters, writing it as dailylair. So I don't know if that's one of those things where just a misspelling, or it's one of those like internet things where liar. I have no idea. I'm gonna go with dailylair because that's literally what it says in English. 8 minutes long, kind of one of those things, feels like I probably shouldn't be talking about, but I feel like this is one of those first release proof of concept type things. This artist is also on the same label as Temny Prince, the Dark Prince artist that I finished the week with last week. And if Temny Prince is kind of like a SoundCloud artist, originally it was considered a SoundCloud rapper, again, not really rap, I saw people describing this as SoundCloud indie, which I think is an interesting concept, and I think there's something to it. Like, it makes sense once you listen to it. Ultimately, the biggest problem with this is just too short. In terms of both the track length, which feels very SoundCloud, and just the experience. All of it could be a little bit more, but just jump into it. I do like the album artwork too. I think it's got some very clearly an actual piece of. I mean, this feels kind of like what you would expect of, you know, indie music, right? And honestly, I was A-okay with this sound. Like, I was just like, okay, that's like kind of fine. But I'm gonna jump ahead. Is it? Like the first part of these 4 tracks was just like kind of what you would expect. The third track is really where the sort of SoundCloud aspect comes in, but there. That unnecessary distortion. The boosting of the backing track to the point where it just fuzzes everything out. And on the third track, Shum, it's also there, right? The first 2 tracks, it's not there as much. But like once it actually came in and I heard it, and then I saw that description SoundCloud indie, I was just like, that's actually like kind of a take the archive core sound, which is like that super distortion, super boosted everything, and take elements of that and add that to indie music and even theoretically like indie pop music. And I feel like there's room for something here. Very nice, still ultimately just like that very light acoustic guitar, piano focused indie, very kind of vulnerable and fragile a lot of times. Just got a very nice sound, and it's only 8 minutes long. It's one of those things that I spun 4 or 5 times and was just like, okay, yeah, that's like plenty. So that is Заломы. That's right? That's let me get my I think the stress is on the O, even in the plural, but yeah. Заломы, and the artist there is dailylair. And also appropriate album artwork. I feel like the album artwork fits the overall sound quite well. The other thing I do want to mention too with this artist is that on YouTube he has, I don't think they're like super groundbreaking, but I think he does have some kind of interesting and out there music videos, just kind of weird stuff going on. So it is interesting, and it's heartening to see people still trying to do something weird with music videos. It's very low budget, and it's not like earth-shattering, but good stuff. Okay, beyond this, we have an EP, which is a single track, just one track. It is 18 minutes, 21 seconds. This is A Year When Love Was Gone by the artist Four Riders. The artist here is connected to like a slowcore group, Galanski Shturval. You can actually find them on Bandcamp. Holland Rudder, Dutch Rudder. I think it's probably Dutch Rudder, but I don't remember what their Bandcamp is. I was reading about, he put up a really long post about this release. Let me go ahead and just put the album artwork up too while I'm yammering. And what he was talking about is, he said, it was, I don't know for sure, so like if I get this wrong, I apologize. As I understand, he is currently, I think, Georgia. I think he's out of the country for, the war situation. So he was in, because in his post, he was talking about how he was, he wanted to sort of commemorate the 1-year anniversary of his father's death. He was going to he wanted to sit around and have drinks, but nobody wanted to come and hang out with him. So he was just drinking cha-cha by himself, cha-cha, I think. Would that be Georgia, or would that be Bulgaria? I don't know. It doesn't matter. And his girlfriend had left him. Anyway, he was hella depressed, just gets, ham boned. And so of course he just gets completely overwhelmed by grief. And while he's sitting there, he's a musician, he starts noodling away, first with a really simple drum machine beat, just a really, really sparse drum. And then he pulls out a keyboard. And then a day or two later, he is kind of tooling around with a guitar line. all the while working through this depression. And he kind of left that track, that thing he was going. Fast forward to 2025, last year, 4 writers, this project released an EP called Ultra Nil, which I didn't talk about because it was not on streaming at the time. It's actually one of those things, you can find it on Bandcamp, which I just discovered this evening, but the album itself, when it first released, was being pushed as message me on like social media and forward me 500 rubles and I'll send you the album type of thing, which I thought was pretty cool. Like there aren't very many releases in 2026 you can only get like by contacting the artist directly, which, I completely forgot and I just didn't. But it was something I intended to, but that's beside the point. They were having the listening release party for Ultra Nil, and he decided like he was going to come back to this track right here. He got in touch with a bunch of other musicians in different countries and different cities around the world. And, like a bassist and somebody who could play the cello, all that stuff. This is the end result. This is a very, very slow, ambient, it's kind of drone music, but it's a very, very light drone music. And it's the type of track that's like both, it just like kind of depends on your mood. It can be very, very depressive, but it could also be really kind of hopeful. It contains both of those seeds within it. It's an impossible track to... Chacha is Gruzi, okay. And welcome, end of story. That's what I thought. I was almost positive it was Chacha. What's Raki? Raki's the other side of the Black Sea. Anyway, one of those tracks that really... I saw a lot of people who had responded to him talking about how like it's the type of music that is, and the artist himself even said it's like the type of music for writing, for like journaling, for diarying, or like writing in a diary, for writing a book, whatever it happens to be. There's something there, but it's very, very slow pace, and it kind of opens up your thoughts a little bit. I'm gonna obviously jump ahead here, but just that's what we're starting with, right? Like it. It's not maybe the best comparison, and I always bring up Earth when it comes to this type of music, but it feels like it actually feels like a slower Earth track, which is already kind of a statement. And I realize this is the type of music that a lot of people are just like, what's going on here? But it is. I listened to it multiple times. And I think the other thing too is it's kind of surprising how quickly, when you actually are sitting down and listening to it, the 18 minutes goes by much faster than you would expect it to. It kind of has that effect. I feel like the beginning is more depressive, and it might just be because of the sparse nature of it. But I do think it's also in just the like the chords and the harmonies that begin to appear later into the track, right? Things begin to kind of take more of an upturn, right? With terms of chord progressions and stuff. Very slow track, EP, whatever you want to call it, right? But this is, like I said, I had wanted to actually get my hands on that EP from last year, and I just never did. So when this popped up, an 18-minute track, I was kind of just like, I actually wanted to get into it and see what the fuss maybe was all about. And I kind of get it. So anyway, if you need something that's, I don't know, just for quiet, reflective time, I think this can do the trick. But that is the EP, the very, very long single, A Year When Love Has Gone, from 4 Riders. All right, now switching it up, we're going to something with a little bit more speed. This is the group Anti-Object Task Force. I actually talked about them last year. They released, it was a single with 4 tracks, so kind of an EP last year. Limb and I don't remember the other, Limb something. And yeah, I was actually a bit disappointed by their sound last year, because when I first heard them on an EP from 2024, they had a Kylesa style sound. And last year it kind of went into more traditional psych rock. I had forgotten about that. I was expecting the Kylesa sound again, and I was just again disappointed. But that, I guess, is just the sound from this group now. So I think I've got it remembered at this point in time. But there are, I mean, aside from the introductory track here, there are moments in the back half where you can hear that slightly heavier sound, which is, you know, I guess a callback to that first EP. And there's something that's like kind of funky about this. I don't really know how else to describe it. The also solid album. They do have good album artwork each time. Like, there's no denying that, but there's that heaviness. But it's, I guess I should, it's not like psych rock 100%. It's also got kind of the stoner rock vibe to it too. So, I mean, I would prefer if it went back to a little bit faster, a little bit heavier, again, a little bit closer to Kylesa, because like with the female vocals and that kind of speed and intensity, I think that's like a nice mix, but it's my own personal. They've definitely cultivated their own sound, though, I guess, at this point in time. I guess you could even say it's like got that kind of space rock, which is in terms of the overall, well, space and atmosphere on some of the tracks. I feel like this is the one that the final track has the kind of, it's the bass line really, where the funk kind of feeling comes in. But Oh, also the EP is Tanцы, огне, or Dances in the Fire. Yeah, like the bass is definitely funking around. Yeah, it is very like stoner rock album artwork for sure. Which is fine too. Like, I'm glad it's not just like a stoner rock band. They've definitely got some other flavors in the mix. Anyway, I think there's something here. Actually, what's interesting is on Spotify, they don't have the one from last year. They have two of the songs from last year, Rubinowe Guby and Koja. But if you actually go and look, they don't have the limb. There's the 2024 release as well too. Which is, it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange that they don't have the one from last year. Anyway, I don't remember what I was wanting to say. It's definitely got a good sound. It's kind of an interesting sound. It's kind of a fun sound too. A little bit different from the typical, like kind of stoner-esque sound that we actually run into fairly frequently here. So I do appreciate that. I really do like the female vocals. I do like the overall atmosphere. I really wish they would just add a little bit more Kylesa to it. Just give it a little bit more of a bump. It's just a little too laid back, and I think it would really kick it up. But it's a nice release overall. I did enjoy it. Oddly enough, I actually have three releases that I'm going to talk about this week that were in the Yandex new releases that I didn't find in my typical digging, which I think is insane, but I guess that's where we are. But yeah, anyway, that is the group Anti-Object Task Force with their EP Танцы, огне. Moving on, we have another EP and then another EP. So yeah, this is the EP усталые люди by the group Aquapark. Усталые люди is just tired people. It's an interesting sound here. Just like light indie rock. Sometimes it kind of feels like Grizzly Bear and then those types of groups. But then it also at other times feels like the kind of Britpop adjacent Russian indie rock sound that was super, super popular, at least here in Moscow in the 2010s. It goes back and forth a little bit between those two sounds. They're kind of complementary. They work together. It feels like they shouldn't, but it doesn't really feel jarring. So when you jump into the first track, this is that kind of like Britpop adjacent Russian indie rock sound that I was talking about. I do kind of like the album artwork too. It's subtle. But then, wait, I want to make sure I did. No, this is this okay. That's the other one that's like really got that sort of Britpop adjacent. But then this is like again, right? Like not quite the Britpop thing. This is, it's maybe not Grizzly Bear either. It might just be the vocals that kind of, there's like a specific singing style with combined with instruments, like a certain combination, just like always calls to mind Grizzly Bear. This is kind of it. I mean, to be fair, I personally enjoy this sound a little bit more than the kind of Britpop-ish sound at the start. They're both fine, but I do think this one's just like a little bit more, fits the voice better too. I don't know. Anyway, a mix of two different sounds, but I am, again, I'm more partial to the second one that I highlighted there. That's sort of, again, lighter, airier indie sound, but regardless, they're both there, and it's a nice little EP with a mix of sounds, I guess. That is the group Aquapark, and the EP is Усталые люди, tired people. Okay, that brings us to this one. I actually don't have the album art for this one, so give me a second. Let me go ahead and get the album artworks for those last two real quick, and then that way everything will be good to go. All right. But this is actually, I'll talk about this while I'm getting the album artwork, all that open. This is actually a kind of a follow-up from, not a follow-up, it's another album. Wait, now I need to get the screen back up. Okay. So earlier this year, I talked about an artist, It Alone, this guy right here. And we talked about his Still Alone album, which I really liked, kind of IDM, but a little bit different, not quite IDM. This is, it was a IDM that had moments which felt closer to house or deep club cuts, which is how I described the Still Alone release. This EP is done together with this Florii artist who I don't know anything about. It's a little bit closer into that kind of like dancey house or club style music. As best as I can describe this music, it is sad boy dance music. That's what I'm going with, sad boy dance music. Just hear me out. It's got like the left field, right, like future garage vocal that kind of like cold atmosphere, but it's got like this just like dance beat. Also, this track reminds me of Horse by Salvatore Ganacci, for anyone who knows that wonder. I don't know. I mean, like, does that description make sense? Sad boy dance music. I feel like it does. I feel like it's pretty accurate. This is like hands down the best track. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. Obviously, the first track is an intro. The final track's actually pretty good, even though it's a short one. Dino. I don't know. This one just. It's got all the sad boys out there dancing. There's something about this too that reminds me a little bit of hold up, what's his name? Talked about him twice before. I cannot remember. Ash 5. Like a much clubbier dance, or Ash 5 as well. Leave it there. That's kind of the general idea. You heard two of the three tracks on there. Intro, outro, you get how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. It's good. I had a lot of that. I was out filming the Arbot region yesterday. Yeah, and I know kind of like on my way there, on my way back, I was listening to this, also the the anti-object task force, and then another artist we'll be talking about a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I was having a lot of fun with this one. So this is the EP Wings from the artists It Alone and Florii. That's the last EP. We are now into the mini albums, those ones which exist in that nebulous gray zone between 20 and 30 minutes in length, where it's just like it's a little bit more than an EP. It's not quite an album. The first one here is Knockout, sure, whatever, by the group, the artist ARTEMIEV. So ARTEMIEV is connected to like Fabrika Zvezd, I think, in one way or another. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Most of the people watching don't have any idea or don't care. I was on a big kick too this week, just like really short descriptions here. This is what I have in my notes. Catchy indie pop with a thick layer of backing electronics makes it stand out from the Russian compatriots. Pretty much on point. Let's just get to the music type stuff, right? I think this is an actual picture too. I remember seeing something with it on his, or on the group's Kontakte page. I like just heavy, fuzzy electronic. That keyboard just in the background is great. Again, this is not like a new sound. I couldn't, I mean, like, I don't know, does it remind me of Hot Chip? Is that what it is? Something like that? But then vocally, it's not Hot Chip in a lot of ways. Jump off that one. Really good track, but yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure there's a trombone on this album. Definitely heard something like a trombone. It's in one of the later tracks, but can we get more trombone that's not in ska music? Can we do that? That would be fantastic. So yeah, indie pop. Again, is this one of those releases that come back to it in a few months that is still going to hit in the same way? Maybe not. There are still, I think, some really, really good tracks here on the whole, especially like the first three. Obviously the fourth one, which is 7 minutes, 41 seconds long. Also pretty good, but again, a little bit longer. Epilogue is just kind of there doing its own thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's nice. It put me in a good mood. I was bopping along with it, whatever, right? So that's the mini album here. Nokauts from the group ARTEMIEV. Is it ARTEMIEV? Is that where the udarenie is? Or is it like ARTEMIEV? I honestly, family names in Russian are such a goddamn crapshoot half the time for me. But I guess that's kind of like how most of it is. ARTEMIEV. Okay, yeah. That would be how it's typically pronounced. I don't know if that's what it is. Anyway, moving on. Beside the point. The last one here, I don't have album artwork. It's kind of, it is what it is type of thing. Okay, this is a group of Russians out of Belgrade. So, currently in Serbia. As to why they are currently living in Serbia, bit of a question mark, but I think we can all figure out why in 2026. This is their first release, this little mini album here. It's just over 20 minutes long, but it feels a little bit longer. It feels substantial in that way. It's a weird sound. I'm not quite sure. It's like emo gaze or grunge gaze or just kind of alt rock. It's all of those things. like, if you just want to be like really reductivist, then it's just alt rock, right? But the first few tracks are definitely a lot of that kind of grunge gaze with emo aspects to it. But the heavier, fuzzier gaze type elements start to drop off into the second half of the release here. So it's a little bit mixed. Let me just kind of get us into it. Oh, we got a video. Oh, that's exciting. Woo! Oh, I guess this is the self-titled EP from the group Velure. Like, lyrically, vocally, it's got like a very kind of, it just felt very emo-y in a lot of ways in that regard. That's why I'm using that descriptive. Okay. Video is not like that entertaining. I do like the vocalist too. I was never a big fan, but I saw one music community online describe it as the lead singer of Animal Jazz. So for those of you from Russia who are familiar with Animal Jazz, maybe a little bit, right? I was never a huge fan. All right. Jump to the final track. Spoilers? I don't know. Does that work for albums? Read the last chapter of a book. It's a spoiler. Watch the end of the film. But I guess with an album, it doesn't really matter as much. I guess it is. Listening to it again right now, I guess the grunge gaze elements are here too, so I don't know what I was talking about earlier. Ignore that. That's good. We get the idea. Yeah, I don't know. It's nice. It's just sort of, if you just add the word gaze to some black gaze, emo gaze, grunge gaze, shoe gaze, whatever it happens to be, right? That's the hot sound this year. I feel like Deftones core also fits into the gaze movement too. So, and it does feel like, even more, last year there was a lot of it last year, but it feels like this year there's not a single week that goes by without something that falls with that like kind of hyphen gaze ending right there. And it's okay. It's fine. Like, I kind of get why it's popular. It's also sound that when it was first out, it didn't, I don't think, make waves in the same way that it seems to be now. And everything is cyclical, let's be real. So So hey, I guess we'll enjoy it while it's riding a wave of popularity, and then who knows, next year it might already be abandoned like a toy on the side of the road. But that is the group Velure with their mini album here, self-titled one, Velure. All right, back to this. The final three already, kind of good, chugging along here. Prognostiq. This is an electronic artist I have talked about quite a few times. Maybe my favorite album artwork of the week, and I never can tell anymore if it's how much stuff is AI generated, but it kind of looks like maybe not. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. Prognostiq does that kind of cold future garage sound. Does it very, very well. But this album right here, mini, I guess we're 25 minutes long. This mini right here has a lot more ambient in it. More ambient sections. And it actually works. It kind of goes from these burial-esque, right? Like, well, yeah, I'll just use burial as the reference point. That whole future garage sound has something that is vaguely dystopian, but the ambient tracks that are sprinkled throughout this album, I think there's like 2 of them, they really take that and give this album like a through line. It actually feels like there's some sort of larger concept here. I couldn't find any information about that necessarily, but I do also want to highlight too that the 5th track, Dusty Lights, if you're listening, this might feel a little out of place. It's got this like jungle style energy, but it's because it's dedicated to another electronic musician who passed away recently, who made that type of music. In fact, Prognostiq sampled 3 things from that artist in order to make that track. So it's a little out of place, I think, in the overall flow of the album, but that's okay because it's there as a in the person's memory. But let's just get into go ahead and jump ahead. while this isn't like this isn't perfect, I'm not going to pretend that it is, but the thing I really like about this is again, this is actually the fourth time I've talked about Prognostiq over the last year and a half or so, right? He actually put out 3 things last year that I ended up talking about, and listening to this mini right here, like it's possible to hear kind of the sound where he came from, but also where it's going right now. And like I see the bones of where I think at least he's going in the future with some of the sounds that we've heard on this. And I do think that, I don't know, if he does do a full length kind of with something similar to this, again, that kind of a little bit more ambient, a little bit that colder sound, and could be something special, quite good. But anyway, this is the mini liquid air. The artist here is Prognostiq. Oh, did we do the thing where I broke? Oh, no, okay, it's like that. All right. I forgot. Spotify does a thing. If you close the tab, it just like kicks over to the next one. That has confused me to no end so many times. I should know better by now. But okay, up next we have. I actually talked about this guy last year. Pwdlw, pwdlw. I have no idea what the hell, how to say that, whatever it is. I talked about this guy last year with Monolith, right? This was the album that I ended up talking about last year. Or maybe I didn't. Did I? I must have talked about this. I'm pretty sure I talked about this. Or did I? It might have been one of those albums I just listened to and then actually didn't talk about. That actually probably is what happened. I honestly do not remember at this point in time. Beside the point. Story time. We're in story time right now. Also, AI generated album artwork, I guess, fine, it works. During the end of the COVID era / here in Russia, the beginning of the war, I found a YouTube channel where there was a computer programmer / musician who. And he showed how everything worked on the channel and in the videos and everything. He recorded a bunch of riffs and rhythms and, uploaded all of this stuff, all of this music he'd been making, like little bits and pieces and chunks of music. He uploaded it all into a computer and then like created a program that would assemble and slightly reinterpret what he had written into djent style music. Right? And so it's kind of like AI music, but first of all, it was like 5 years ago at this point in time when that was kind of a novel concept. And it also was one of those things where the guy had actually played all of the rhythms and everything. Like he just gave the computer the pieces to assemble, basically. And the result was like this kind of endless stream of instrumental djent music. I loved it at first. I thought it was the coolest thing. And it was interesting to see, right? And I do think that there, especially with artificial music, if you will, I do think that there's a fine line when you have somebody who does make the music and then they end up using a program to kind of like play around with it, and then it becomes, especially if the person also creates the program to do it. But that's another conversation. When that artist, though, on YouTube released a 24-hour mix of, or was it 24 hours or 6? I don't know. It was like an ungodly amount of instrumental djent music. I actually listened to all of it, little by little, but I sat there and I got through it. And what I came to realize at that point in time was that it was pretty good in short bits. If you just put the track on and you didn't know any better, you wouldn't think anything about it. But in fact, I actually put it into a playlist I have for when I go out cycling. It's actually something I plan on deleting from that playlist, because what I quickly came to understand is that even though it is good in little bits, it kind of is repetitive. You can hear it's just like too formulaic. It's too machine-like, right? Soulless, right? It was missing those strange decisions, those little imperfections that people put into music that do that. All of this is to say that this artist right here, pwdlw, is one of those artists that when I first encountered them, I was also unsure if I was like, is this AI music? This kind of feels like AI music, because it does have a lot in common with that instrumental gent music that I was talking about. However, last year, and I don't think I talked about him last year here, it doesn't matter. And then again this year, I've run the tracks through AI checkers and stuff like that. It doesn't sound like AI, but just in case, right? With instrumental music, it's always a gray area too. But I think the other thing too is the more I started listening to this, the more I realized that, like, yeah, there are some clunky moments on this album, things that are very human in nature, right? Like either just because guitarists are physically limited to how fast or how deft, they are with actually picking the strings and things of that nature, or just sometimes, people think something sounds good, and to them maybe it's like good, and to the listener it might not be the best thing in the world. Regardless, this is very much the work of a human. All this is to say, this is just like instrumental gent music. It does tend to blur together. Thankfully, it's only 33 minutes long, so it's not a very long album. It's one of those things. It's 8 songs. It's one of those. It's good to just like put on. If you want to go do some exercise, or you want to actually get some work done, or you just want to get like psyched up for it, or you can just go through this and pick it apart piece by piece. But I did want to talk about this just because, again, I've been out cycling. It's summertime, and I have occasionally run into those tracks. So when I came upon this album, it was just like, okay, I have to talk about this. But let me actually just go ahead and put it on. Like this section right here, very human if you actually sit and listen to it. Jump ahead. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to say that this artist has probably been inspired by Mick Gordon and the Doom soundtrack to some degree. Yeah, right, like, it's very much a person writing this. Anyway, long story short, this is an artist that exists, I guess. Maybe I talked about him last year, maybe I haven't. Very much an actual person somewhere composing all this, putting this together. And yeah, it's instrumental metal music, very djenty. It's kind of, it's a very niche type sound, but I don't know. I feel like if gaze has become one of the like de facto sounds of sort of rock or indie or whatever in 2026, djent music, thal, whatever subgenre we want to talk about, kind of feels like it's become one of the main ingredients in modern metal sound. So I do think that like there's a demand for this, like, and again, like, I do think the Doom soundtrack is partly to blame or to thank for that, depending on your point of view. So yeah, if you're looking for something heavy that isn't going to have a angry white guy realistically screaming at you the whole time, then this is going to do it for you. You got to get some work done. It's really I don't know. For me, like, that's always been the type of music that's like kind of help. It's got like it's got a speed. It's got a rhythm. Doesn't matter if I got to, if I'm going to go cycling or I need to like get some work done. A little stupid. This is that over. Pretty solid stuff. But yeah, that's the album Reptile by pwdlw. I don't really know. Got the AI generated Godzilla thing going on there. Cool. Whatever. All right, that brings us to the final one. We're here. Kind of a Little Stupid's dropping an EP this evening. All right. Let me know. We'll get around to that. The final album here, this is a weird one. This is one I would like. I'm going to end with it, Joe. I didn't want to end with the instrumental djent music, so I think this is a fine album. It's an interesting one, something a little bit different. This is Kassus. Don't know how to pronounce the group's name. Hypnagogia. Okay, only on SoundCloud. I'll have to check that out a little bit. I don't have my VPN on right now, at least on the computer I'm streaming on. But this release in particular is sludge doom metal, but it's got like kind of industrial, post-industrial elements, a lot of synths in the vocals. There's some drone elements to it just in the space. There's like wind chimes throughout. It's a really slow and oppressive type sound. It's kind of hard to pin down. At times, the vocalist reminded me of Burton C. Bell from Fear Factory. But it's such a unique sound that it makes it interesting to listen to. This is one of those albums that I couldn't quite put my finger on, even after listening to it a few times, but that didn't make it any less engaging. I don't think this is one of those albums that's like, it's not, I don't want to downplay it or anything like this. I don't think it's like top tier material, but it's interesting, just like an interesting thing. Hypnagogia too is that space between when you're awake and when you're asleep, that weird fluid moment when reality kind of bends and warps a little bit. That's kind of reflected. Also, if you go on Bandcamp, you can find this group and you can read the lyrics, which are in English. And the lyrics are very surreal, like walking down strange corridors filled with strange furniture, kind of back rooms-esque at times. But let me just get into it. We'll start with Garden. I think that's a pretty good one to start with. I do have SoundCloud open here, though. Let me... Little stupid. Эпишка уже доступна или только, ну, как-то в 12 ночи? So yeah, I don't know how to describe this sound. Like, there's a lot of industrial in here. A lot of that sludgier, doomier stuff, just in the overall, like, speed and sound of the music. It's just a weird concoction. But, like I said, it makes for an interesting listen. And again, go check out the lyrics on Bandcamp. Just weird stuff. I think the Garden one that we were listening to just now is the one I was talking about, where he's walking down the hallway full of like chairs and tables, and then he gets to a door and opens the door. And there's a tree on the other side, just like. Alright, so this is a little bit more just like pure, straight up sludge doom. But then you got these like weird like when I was kind of talking about some of the more drone elements, that's what I'm talking about. There's just like these sections too. I don't want to say it feels like that point exactly like when you're falling asleep, but it is. There is something very surreal about this album as a whole, in a good way, in an engaging way. So I think it's definitely worth a listen. Again, right, vocals are usually like pretty clean for the most part. It's heavy, but not in an oppressive way, right? It's got a very otherworldly or just kind of, again, hypnagogic atmosphere on the album. So, yeah, I guess that's what we're going to end it with. This is the group Kassus, and their album Hypnagogia. And I'll just go ahead and do it like that. So, yeah, that got through 10 releases, 5 EPs, 3 minis, 2 full lengths. Yeah, a little stupid. I just checked SoundCloud here. I'm assuming it's at midnight, right? Ну, короче, я проверю завтра. Если найду эпишку, я послушаю и скажу через неделю. Надеюсь, что найду. I don't know. Well, we'll see. Maybe next week we'll be having a talk about Little Stupid's EP, if I can find it on SoundCloud. It's not currently available, right? I don't see it right now, but he does say I'm dropping it today, so I'm assuming that's future tense. Я сегодня дропну. So дропну, future tense means not now. Anyway, that's it. I'm actually going to finish it only 75 minutes into the stream, basically, which is, in recent memory, a bit of a speed run, but that's okay. I do think I'm gonna try to be a little bit like, in the past I've had too many like songs liked. I think I'm gonna the format, try to hit like 2 songs, let them play for about 1.5 to 2 minutes each time. Gives you, I mean, sometimes certain albums I'm gonna have to do a bit of jumping around when I get to the final album. I think that's fine too, but yeah, it worked well enough today. I'm just killing time right now. Like I said, I went out and I filmed Arbeit. I don't really have too much editing to do either, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get that taken care of here in the next like 30 minutes or so I can get it all processed, and then hopefully tomorrow evening the next walk around the city will be up. But next week, more music, maybe Little Stupid's music, hopefully. We'll see. That'd be kind of interesting. And yeah, everyone have a good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it happens to be when you're listening to this. Y'all take care of yourselves. I will see you when I see you. And until then, пока-пока.